Hello and welcome to Unbounded Growth, a podcast that challenges you to grow and become a better version of yourself. My name is Mark Allen, and together with my friend Adam, we share thoughts and ideas from the books that we read and how they enhance our personal growth and development. We also host other readers and leaders. We learn from their experiences through our discussions. Our episodes air every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you for listening in, and let's grow together. Unbounded Growth. Hello and welcome to Unbounded Growth. My name is Mark Alan Muteba. Here, my co-host and friend Adam Shabindo. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing well, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing amazing. If you're watching or listening to us on YouTube, maybe the first time we are having a live video. Adam joining me from UT Dallas on your local campus. How's your research going?
It's going, well, it was actually a pretty tough week last week because I was doing my first PhD exam, my second I can say because I passed my qualifying exam and now I'm a PhD candidate. And I was doing my first exam as a PhD candidate. That's an evaluation of my project by my committee. So it's more like a closer room with full of experts, people who know my stuff very well. So I can't, you can't just make up anything.
You can't fake it till you make it.
You can't fake it till you make it. So yeah, it was pretty challenging. I got very challenging questions. That's, some of those questions, they're not asking them to look down on you or to make you feel bad, but they're asking you those questions to challenge your scientific abilities and the ability to just face challenge as a scientist and also own to what you have done and prove it. So I got tons of those questions there, and a few professors liked my way of doing stuff, and a few others thought that maybe my method is not the best method that they would want. So I also keep on asking them like, hey, what do you think I should do? What do you think, which type of method do you think I should try to get on with? So that was how it went. But I got overall pretty interesting feedback with a lot of more collaborative options opened. And that was pretty good.
Yeah, you know what they always say, that don't condemn someone's way of doing things if you don't have a better way to suggest, And I see that. Yeah, I see that a lot of times in leadership, where people are quick to criticize others. They are quick to criticize the work you're doing. They are quick to criticize the methods that you're employing. But then when you ask them, what do you think we should do? And they go all quiet. So John Maxwell always says, I don't know if it's John Maxwell or Zig Ziglar used to say that it doesn't take a special talent to see fault in something. Every time you want to see fault, you'll find it, and that's amazing. We still this is our 6th episode of our 2nd season. We've been talking about this amazing book, Atomic Habits, and to be honest, reading this book for the second time and taking notes, the first time I underlined a lot of things. I tried to implement a few things, but just taking notes in them has given me a completely different perspective on the book. And I think reading it back to back with tiny habits kind of, putting me in a position where I'm starting to reinforce those habits that I've been learning and that we've been sharing here for the last few weeks. So I'm excited about what we will be talking about today. I finished Hyper Focus. That book was.
Oh, wow.
It's a small book.
Reading the book.
It's funny. It's kind of a small book, but it's not, because
it's a pretty small. I mean, it looks pretty small.
It looks small. I was looking it up online because I was just wondering, why is this book taking me so long to read? And I realized that, first of all, it's kind of a scientific book. So there's a lot of scientific information in it. As when you're reading it, it forces you to pause and read it, sometimes even stop completely reading and start looking up the information that Chris is giving in there, Chris Bell is giving in there. But overall, I can assure you that my productivity, I think, has dramatically improved over the last week.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
I've been testing this technique. I mean, I've read it before in this guy that talks about deep work. I even forgot his name. He talks about the same thing, creating that space where you can fully focus your attention span and things of that nature. But I don't think I really implemented it the way I have as I was reading this book. Among the many things that he said, having that time, because focus cannot be indefinite. You can't focus indefinitely, then you're going to go crazy at some point. But knowing how to manage your scatter focus from the laser point focus, and just having that time every day. Now at work, I set up this 25-minute focus time. Like when I'm really struggling to focus, I'll turn off my phone, I'll put it in the living room, stay on the task, whatever task I'm doing, for 25 minutes. It doesn't matter what comes my way. I am not leaving that task until the 25 minutes are over. And the crazy thing is that it goes by fast. And not only that,
It
goes
really
by
does.
fast, distraction also goes by, takes time. Because when I take my break for 5 minutes and I'm on my phone, you've barely touched anything on your phone and the 5 minutes is up.
Yep.
It kind of made me realize how much time we actually spend on our devices without really thinking about it.
It's actually something that I've been facing, and that's why I'm reading Hyperfocus as well. Because I've read Atomic Habits, I've read Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog, and those books have helped a lot. But at a certain point, things become a bit passive, and you want things to always be active.
Right.
You want to always stay up and keep up with everything. So in that aspect or that perspective, the starting to read Hyperfocus really started to help. One thing that I've been implementing is the morning time. When I wake up, I just let my mind wander. If it's just even for 30 minutes. The thing is, like, it's actually hard to keep track of time with that, because I don't touch anything, and I am not looking at the time. I don't touch my phone. I've started, like, I've been taking a few minutes to read my Bible,
right,
at that morning time. But then I'm just staying in bed, not sleeping, just being there and letting my mind wander, and it's been really amazing, and it's helping me reconnect with myself. Kind of like it's helping me be aware of some thoughts,
even aware of your surroundings.
Just have. Yeah. So it's been really interesting, and now I'm actually trying to think of a few things. Actually, I think I'm gonna start implementing, like, on Saturdays, as soon as I'm done with my meetings. I'm gonna be leaving my phone, and because I need to catch up on a lot of writing.
Right.
So what I'm thinking next is I have to start leaving my phone completely at a completely different location. And and even my iPad. Actually, my iPad I can take it with me, because I don't really only use my iPad to read, so I don't really have
there's not a whole lot on it. Yeah.
No, really. So, and plus, I mean, I need to be connected to internet to my iPad, so it's I can go. I'm thinking to even come on campus and just be in the library, and I never go to the library. I think probably I've been there like probably once since I'm at this school.
Right.
But yeah, usually, because my office is pretty comfortable, and I pretty much have everything, and all the books or anything that I need, I just download it from the internet. And so all my readings, especially research related, I have them in the digital copies. But I think for me to start working more on my books, because I'm finishing up 2 books right now, and one is almost done. It's just a matter of, it's in French. I need to get the English version. And it's kind of a book that has a lot to do with recent events.
Right.
It's a book about the war in Congo, and the war is still ongoing. And every day there are, like, new updates. So it's kind of like, it's a little complicated. Like, there are new agreements signed, new this, and it keeps, like, I keep on adding these elements. Like, hey, this also is something to analyze. This also, I mean, I'm not a political scientist or whatever. I see myself as a person who I like conflict resolution. I like bringing peace and helping people and stuff like that. So I kind of I've been educating myself a lot on those aspects, reading the work of people who have worked on, like, making deals and discussing with different parties and so on.
Yeah, which kind of points to that book that I've been reading for a few weeks now, and I can't even find it. It's somewhere behind in the shelf there. I think it's the book that you can see right there. It's in business or in life, you don't get what you want, you get what you negotiate.
what you negotiate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's so I've been kind of just bringing the perspective to all of these agreements that are being signed, all of these ceasefire that are being agreed on. And I was having a conversation with my dad actually about it. And this is specifically on the war in Congo, where an agreement was signed in which the governments of Congo, or the Eastern African community, through the president of Kenya and the president of Rwanda, Kagame, they agreed that they should tell the M23, which is a rebellion Congolese group, to withdraw from their positions. And now the question is, okay, they withdraw from their position to go where?
That's a good question.
So it's kind of like, okay, they're gonna withdraw. Okay, where are they going? And the Congolese Congress has signed actually a law in Congo that it has become illegal to negotiate with armed forces that are coming against the government, and they are funded by foreign countries to come against the government.
So that's kind of the cliche phrase you hear in every American movie: "We do not negotiate with terrorists."
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's exactly what is happening. So it's I've been thinking deeply about it and just trying to figure out how I can incorporate those aspects in the book. And so the book is the one that I projected to finish at the end of this month. It's probably not gonna come out, gonna be done by the end of the month. So I have to add another month to see how things develop and how things go. Then I can report that, because this is kind of it's our own history.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a part of us, and it's compared to and this, I don't want to lose our audience by any means, but a lot of African history was not written. Most African history was written by European, and not really by people who lived through it. Right. But our modern history, it's today. It's really happening in our time. We know how to read, we know how to write, and we know how we can observe. And it's about time that we don't read about us from the West anymore. We should start reading about us within, we should start writing about our own things, about ourselves, and just kind of to pitch this in, and for our listeners out there, the Bora Science Magazine new edition is coming out in the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely, that's exciting.
And that one is specifically going deeper in studying the volcano in Eastern Congo. It's a scientific review, so it's actually combined. It's science news type of stuff. So we go in deep on studies on how it's affecting the local communities, how it's affecting the local waters, just what is that region. So anybody studying geology, anybody in geophysics, anybody who is within that field, who is studying the environment in general, should find themselves they should find themselves a space where they can read and understand about the region without even to ever be in that region.
To travel there. All right. I know we started with hyperfocus. We were talking a little bit about that, and that's how we drifted a little some way to talk about everything that's going on and how we are using this book, the information in this book, to enhance our personal work, our personal development and growth. And I always advise people, we talked about this before, it's November 21st. We got 9 days to the end of the month. Consider 22nd, I believe. Consider start planning your next year. Don't wait until January 1st rolls in. Try to prioritize. See what are the things that you actually want to accomplish. And maybe if you want to read more, one of the things that I love doing at the end of the year is putting out a list of the books that I want to read next year. Of course, that changes throughout the year, as you'll be talking to someone and tell you about this one book that you cannot afford not to read, and you change your plan. But it's better to adjust your plan than not have one at all. And then you have nothing to adjust. I think Zig Ziglar is the one who said again that it's much easier to hit a target that you do not see than to hit a target that you do not have. So have a target for next year. It's important. Start setting up your goals. And if you need help with that, just reach out to us. We can help you. We can definitely sit down with you and help you, or try to consult with you on how you can set up your year and be productive. So back to Atomic Habit. We got about 45 minutes to get through this third law. We were talking about the second law, actually. we started talking about the second law last week, about how can you make your habits attractive. John Clear started here in chapter 8, explaining a little bit about how dopamine works in your brain. What's the purpose of dopamine? What's the importance of dopamine? What is the power of dopamine in everything that you do, your action? And I always believe that understanding the why behind everything that you do helps you to track your habits at the very core. If you understand why is this happening to me, why am I struggling to focus, why am I struggling to this and that, if you understand, and you don't need to be a chemist to do that. I hate chemistry. Chemistry, well, I don't hate it like that, but it's not my favorite subject. But if you just have a little understanding about what chemicals is being triggered when you do this or that action, that can actually help you to start even hacking your own behaviors, to hack the way that you're doing things. So dopamine over time was realized that it was not only about pleasure. Dopamine has a lot to do with learning, with motivation, has a lot to do with memory, has a lot to do with punishment. And we talk deeply. We spent a lot of time talking about the effect of dopamine on your life. And just a reminder of the 4 laws of habit. The first one is you want to make it obvious. The second one, you want to make it attractive. And this is what we are talking about today. We'll be starting chapter 9. The third one, you want to make it easy. And the fourth one, you want to make a habit satisfying. If you can make a habit go through these 4 stages, then it's much easier for you to adapt and implement it. Adam?
Yeah, and I'm just going to directly switch and go into deep in the book, because as Mark said, that last week we went largely and we discussed even our own experiences on and our own ideas, what we thought of the chapter 8. Mm-hmm. And going to chapter 9, here he's introducing something interesting. He's talking about the role of family and friends in shaping your habits. This is what I can say. It's if you grew up in a family, and for a lot of people who grew up in a family around the world, almost everyone has a family. That is true. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're close to them now or you are far from them, or you're not in agreement with them. But for you to come to Earth, you came through a family. Right. You came through another person. Mm-hmm. And human beings are social beings.
At the very core.
We mostly survive surrounded by other people. Mm-hmm. That's why the agglomerations of people. That's why we try to mate. We try to be in relationships with people. That's why we get married, because we are social people.
And compared to mentioning that we're social people, it doesn't matter if you come from a creation belief or an evolution belief. The only way that mankind has evolved over time was through relationships. We couldn't do it alone. We couldn't do it alone. That's why some species couldn't survive. When you stay out there by yourself, it's hard to actually make progress and to go to. You can't survive even essentially.
Yeah, and our families in which we are born, there is something that is called the foundational education, because education is what shapes a lot of our habits. Education shapes our beliefs. And I'm not talking about education like knowing how to do math or speaking the better grammar. No, I'm talking about education at the most fundamental level, which means education that you receive from your parents. Or if you did not have both your parents in your life, at least from your mother. Once you are born, the first thing that you do, you start to observe and become like people who brought you to the world. There's a lot of proof that it can be tend to like linked to genetics, but sometimes it's not even linked to genetics. Like, for example, I grew up, I used to see my dad moving his lips a lot, like he moved for people who watching, he do something like with his lips, and I just found myself like I saw him all the time. It's not a genetic thing, but I found myself doing that too. Because why? He's my dad. I look up to him. He's just been present to my life in my life. And it's probably not from your dad that you get some of your habit, but probably it's from your mom. You observe if you were born in an abusive house, you're most likely gonna also become very abusive unless you go through what we talked about in the previous chapter, radical change of environment. You will still copy the same type of habits that your parents or the people you were like, even at 1 year old, are having habits. And those habits will be coming from the type of environment or the type of family and friends that's around you.
And it's funny that you're mentioning that, because I don't know, when we grew up in Goma has become a much larger city than it was back in the days. But back in the days, they could literally recognize what family you are from just by looking at your behavior. They'll be like, okay, you look like this person, you're probably from this family too. I've met people in life that literally by means of no errors at all would tell me my dad's name. And they'll be like, oh, you're the son of this man. I was like, how do you know? He's like, well, first of all, you look like him. Secondly, you talk like him. I was like, what do you mean? And that's why, it's even easier, or it's even much simpler to recognize people that are from the same city. You take someone to New York and they talk funny. You take them back to Texas, they talk normal, and you see stuff like that all over. And the story that James Clear begins with here, it begins about this father in I think it was Poland, that decided to teach his children. He was trying to test a theory such as the environment you grow up in can greatly influence the person you become in the future. His wife was a teacher who was also trying to teach this theory, such as, the changes in the family setting. There's nobody who's born stupid. It's just the way we teach our children and how we help them to adapt to the environment. Excuse me. And he tried this with his three daughters. He started teaching them chess when they were kids. And this is really amazing, because he used here a little bit some of the law of environment. He said that their whole house was filled out with chess things. The pictures of great chess players. There was a chess board almost every single room in the house. There was a chess board. And the father was playing with them every day. And those three chess kids went up to become some of the most renowned chess players that they've ever been. There was Susan, there was Sophia, there was Judith. As a matter of fact, Sophia, the middle child, she became a chess champion at the age of 14. And that's ridiculous when you think about it, and about sometimes how chess is complicated. Now, James Clear says here that we imitate habits when they fall into three groups. I think 3 or 4 groups. The first one is that we imitate habits when they're close to us. The second one, we imitate the many. The third one, we imitate the powerful. 3 of them. So the close one, the many, and then the powerful. How? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to wade in that a little bit, where when you say the law of the environment here, how he made he engineered a way to actually make all his kids become brilliant at chess. Probably not all of them will be grandmasters, but at the end, at least one was a grandmaster at a very early age. And this is it's coming in the type of an advice. We've seen it in a lot of that family is probably famous because they are well known in chess. But you can see the trend of families in America right now, and some of the most successful families. And I'm not talking about billionaires' family and people being raised into money and so on. I'm talking about the middle class families. You see in certain type of family, in a lot of ethnicities in America, you see that Asians are some of the most successful people in this country. Asian and Indians, and then come Nigerians, American. They're some of the really vastly growing into success. And you see the way they are educating their kids. I've had conversation with a few of my friends who have Indian parents or who are Indian themselves. And just the dynamic of the family.
Yeah.
One of my professor one of my math professor, his kids could actually be able to, I mean, the husband and the wife both had a PhD in mechanical engineering, and they both were professors of mechanical engineering. And their kid, who was 10, was able to already do all the calculus.
Wow.
Because, yeah, it's the type of environment. And now you can think about, when you're thinking about success in the future, when you're projecting success, they engineered an environment in such a way that there's nothing you can know. It's like our life also with Christianity. I'm going to give just an example there. A lot of us were born and raised, especially in the Congo, actually, because Congo is probably 90% Christian.
Yeah.
And a lot of us were raised in such of an environment where Christian songs is all we knew. We knew that actually dancing was bad back then when I was growing up. Yeah, if you are dancing, you're not a good person.
I don't know how old you are, but that seems like a very long time ago.
I'm telling you, but like my family lived a very traditional style of life.
Yeah.
Yes. So the only dances we knew were our village dances. And that were because our parents. And in fact, until now, the only thing I can dance is to my traditional music.
Right.
Everything else I try to move, man, I'm just stood stiff, do the rest, because they shaped us. They engineered the environment, the type of food I enjoy. It's not because I saw it somewhere or this or that, or I don't have any dietary issues or anything, but even the type of food I enjoy, it was some food that I enjoy. Probably like 90% of other people wouldn't like them. Like, it's because it's bitter. It's this type of stuff. We had these leaves. It was called bitter leaves when I was growing up. It's the type of stuff that I'm eating with so much appetite and I'm enjoying them.
Because of the type of environment
because of the type of environment that my parents ended up shaping. And when he's going here and he's talking about these social norms that is going deep into, and he's talking about that the type of people we imitate around, and that's where Marco's coming in, and he was talking about
the clothes.
We imitate the closest people to us. We imitate the many, and we imitate the powerful.
And when he's talking about the clothes here, and which is, we circle back a little bit about growing up in an environment and trying to shape the environment such as, we foster a successful for the future for our kids. Just a quick example before we start talking about the clothes here. I met this gentleman at a company I work with, Lonzel Skype. Lonzel is a very good friend of mine. He comes from a Black American family. He told me all together with his brothers, sisters, grandkids, nieces, nephews. They have like a family reunion of over 60 people. And last I checked with them in 2019, all of them who were 22 and above had been to college. None of them had been to jail. Like, it was just this family with such strong connection and tradition, which means that our families literally do play a great role in shaping who we become. And most of the times we tend to give back to the world what we received. And if you did not receive a good family, pay it forward in a good way. Try to raise a better family and not just replicate everything that you receive from your family. So, talking about now how we imitate people who are close to us. There's a funny story that happened in 2015. I was taking a psychology class. And my psychology class, Introduction to Psychology, that's when I kind of realized that I like what Dr. Phil does, but I don't think I want to do it, because it was just a lot to learn. I didn't know that psychology was as complicated. It's great to read when you're reading it from a novel, when you're reading it from a book. When you're studying psychology, there is a lot more things to put in consideration than just the cool stuff that you see on television. And our professor was explaining to us all this stuff that have to do, psychology has a lot to do with anatomy and how your anatomy works and stuff like that. So he gave us a quick experiment in class. He told us, everybody stand up, like with an authoritative voice. He was like, everybody stand up. For no reason, out of nowhere, it was just like, everybody stand up. It's 7:30 in the morning. I'm sleepy. And in my head, I'm like, the last thing I want to do in class is stand up. But anyways, everybody around me stand up. So I stand up. And then it looks at us, he said, who didn't want to stand up? So I raised my hand. I was like, I definitely did not want to stand up. I was working from 4 to midnight, didn't get home till 2, 3 in the morning. And sometimes I wouldn't go to bed till 3:30, 4 a.m. in the morning. Being in class at 7 a.m. was a little bit too tough for me. I told him I'm really tired and I don't think I'm having fun standing up. Then he asked me, he said, why did you stand up? I was like, well, everybody around me stood up. Would I be that one guy who doesn't stand up? I just didn't want to be in an awkward situation. And then he told us to sit down and he taught us a very important lesson in psychology. He said that most of the times we tend to imitate the habit of the people around us. And when we do not, we face what people call today bullying or what people call social pressure. It's like every time you around people who are dressing, talking, or doing things a certain way, and you are not doing the same things as they are doing, two things will happen. And we talk more about that when we say we imitate the powerful, right? Either yes, you will stand out as a person, do your own things, or you will separate yourself from that group. There is just no way you will live in an environment where people are completely doing the same things, going to the same place, and it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time before you break in. It's a matter of time before you give in, especially if you hear the same stuff again and again. When I learned English, when I was learning English, the one mistake I made is that every time I heard a word, I went to the dictionary to see what a word meant. And if it didn't mean anything really wrong, I started using the word. It happened to me with the F word. I went to the dictionary, 2011, I remember well. I went to the Macmillan Dictionary and looked up for the F word. 15 different meaning of the F word. And wow, none of them was anything crazy. So I thought it was normal when I heard people using the F word. I started using the F word. I come to America. I remember the first time using the F word, like I was angry and I just used it. And someone looked at me and said, oh, wow, well, why would you say that? And in my head, I'm not realizing that I'm living in a completely different culture. I'm talking a completely different language. So certain things that may sound quote unquote normal, actually not. Some words that may sound normal, actually not. And it exists in every language. That's why you have to be careful when you're learning a new language. Be careful about the type of words that you're using. Some words can be detrimental. The N-word. I use the N-word all the time until I met my Professor Gregory Kosk at TCC, who told me, no, I don't think this word has a very good connotation to it. And back home, we use it all the time, especially playing basketball. We use it all the time and we thought it was okay to use it, I started realizing those little things because of the type of environment I was in. So I stopped using it. And then I get to this job, my very first job. I work with four out of the 5 guys that I work with were from the military. And in my head, I already know the F word is probably not a very decent word, but they were using it every day. I mean, I think they use the F word more than they breathe. Literally, like they use it day in and day out. And I restrained myself. I tried as much as I could. And one day I remember dropping it. And everybody like, oh my God, Mark, we cannot believe you said it. Why? Because of the environment I was in. Because of the people that were close to me that I spent with 8 to 12 hours every single day working around with, using these determinatory languages, using the same language every day. At some point, it started catching up with me. And when I realized that, it was time for me to make that movement. We imitate the people that are close to us.
Yes, we do. And there are so many examples out there. For me, I talked about my family, how they've had so much of influence on me. And when you spend a lot of your time with people, and that's why it's so important. I think I met a young lady, her name is Eunice. And I think it was just on campus and I was going back to my car and then we just ran into each other. And I was telling her that the environment that you're in, it's actually what shapes you. Mm-hmm. It shapes who you are. It actually shapes how you look at your parent. It shapes, there is a trend right now where like a lot of kids are not doing really agreement with their parents. Yeah. And I was one of those kids. And where like me and my dad were just like, that's this generational conflict. Mm-hmm. all the time. He has his own way of thinking. He's in Africa, and I have my own way of thinking. I'm in America, and
You've
just
seen
stuff like
things
that.
he has never seen.
Yeah, he has never seen, and so on. And I used to think of myself as like, yeah, some level I'm better, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But nah. And just to go back, those people we are close to, they really define even how we think. They define what is the right or wrong for us. So we do imitate people who are close to us. The other people we imitate is the many. And this is the trend. This is how it works. When something becomes a trend, everybody is doing it. We are most likely to also do it. When Facebook actually came, and everybody was joining Facebook, the rest of us, it was just a matter of minutes,
instant,
before all of us were wrapped into Facebook. Something goes into TikTok right now. How so many people are using TikTok. Every little trend, every little challenge, quote unquote, has become a thing because everybody is doing it. We also tend to do it.
Right.
We tend to imitate what is also like, this can also be something related to race, related to our ethnicity. And one day I was actually preaching, and I defined this as a spirit in some sense. I say that every country has a spirit. Every school has a spirit. We talk about school spirit all the time. Like, this is our school spirit. This is our country spirit. It's an idea of identity. When we imitate the many, we want to belong. And I don't think that is in this book. It's just my own conclusion. It's the idea of wanting to belong, to associate. And as I said at the beginning, that human are social being. Now, every time we feel like we are belonging,
right,
we tend to imitate and try to copy exactly that.
And sometimes we actually imitate so that we can feel that sense of belonging. The sense of belonging is something that is natural to everybody. Everybody wants to belong. And because we want to belong to a certain group, we start doing things the way that they're doing them.
Yes. So that is a one thing. So when we start to imitate, when we imitate the spirit of our country, when we imitate anything that's a trend that is on our campus, it becomes something we do so we can identify to that crowd. And that's where he's putting it here. And I think there is an experiment that he's talking about by Solomon Arch. I don't know if I pronounced the name correctly, but Solomon Arch puts group people in different categories. So he puts people, he called the experiments social conformity experiments. And he just found out that everything that's, let's say, something that was just as like very simple, then it becomes a trend. As soon as it becomes a trend, it drags everybody. And I think that's how a lot of these social media systems are designed.
Yeah.
You see something that's a couple years ago that used to be like crazy. Like you think about them as crazy.
Yeah.
But social media amplified it, and it became the new normal.
And it goes across cultures, and people start accepting it as the new reality. And everybody, a few years ago, when you had your pants that were too tight toward the bottom, everybody thought you were crazy. I remember back in 2004, 2005, when we were having these pants that they had this shape, like the legs were much larger and much bigger, which, it's funny that a few years later, it's kind of back into the trend. People are starting to wear again baggy clothes and something that looked cool when 50 Cent was first coming out with his albums, and Ja Rule were all coming out with their album. It looked cool back then. But when we look at them today, when we look at them a few years ago, let's say 5-6 years ago, people are like, man, what did y'all have in mind? NBA players always laugh about this, about like LeBron James' class of 2003, when he came with those big old suit, and people are thinking to themselves like, what was wrong with y'all? But you'll be surprised that people are starting to accept that again as being the new trend, because once something starts trending, everybody wants to move into that direction. Everybody wants to be part of that group. You don't want to be the outlier.
You want to identify.
Exactly. You don't want to be that guy. You don't want to have a name on campus, You don't
want to be the weird person.
The weird guy,
Yeah, and that's actually how you call it today.
Yeah.
You are so weird. Like, you do your own thing.
Exactly.
When you do the stuff that is just you doing it, people call it weird. And honestly, just as an advice, like, do you? Because we've seen a lot of, especially social media, trend, bring people to try to compare themselves or try to be somebody else.
Right.
But don't. This, of course, we have, and I think we're going to talk about it in the next chapter here, like on how to find and fix causes of your bad habits. But when you are interacting with social media, just don't forget to be you.
Who you are at the very core. And I was dealing with a situation a few weeks ago. A young girl that I've known for many years she was being pressured, she was being blackmailed, because she has sent some of inappropriate pictures to someone who has shared it with someone else, and then the person was threatening her to put them on social media. And the whole time I'm thinking, how. So I was talking to her. I was like, how did you get to that point? And she explained to me some things like, everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it, and you never think about the ramification or the consequences. And you at some point, it's like, if I don't do it, then I'm not accepted by my group. That's how a lot of people started smoking. It's not because they really wanted to smoke, It's because everybody around me was doing it. And when I was not doing it, then I looked weird. That's why a lot of people started doing excessive drinking or excessive this or excessive that, simply because they wanted to fit or to fitness in a situation. Bizzo is a rapper. He's a gospel rapper. In one of his songs, he said, if the group that you are with is putting too much pressure on you and you cannot withstand it, change groups. Find a new type of people that are cool with what we're doing. A new type of people that are okay with your new normal. And there's one statement I want to read here before we jump onto imitating the powerful. James Clear says, the power of grouping is that even when our behaviors are at optimal, when we are put together with the people who do not have our knowledge or exhibit our beliefs, we tend to bow and be content with others so that we can fit in. That's where leadership comes into play, and this is what I'm adding, and that's where leadership makes the difference. When I was growing up playing basketball, and that's how I tore my Achilles, trying to play basketball, thinking I'm still 16, but realized that I'm not. I remember one of my coaches or my mentors. His name was Badibanga. Badibanga was one of the best players I've seen in my entire life. Just his dedication, his stamina, the way the guy worked, his workout ethics. I just believe that he grew up in a time where he didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to go out of the Congo. But if he had gone out of the Congo or out of Africa, I believe that he would have had a great career. But Ibanga told me one thing growing up. He saw me, I was improving, I was becoming better. He told me, hey, I see a lot of potential in you, but I'll tell you one thing. Stop playing with your younger brothers. Back then, I was already a lot better than they were. And I was like, why? But, those are my friends. I like having fun playing with them. He told me they're making your basket regress. I was like, how so? He said, the more you play with them, you start playing at your optimal game. You try to adapt your them to theirs so you can have fun together. The problem is when you leave their group and you come to play with us who are much, 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 much older than I was, he said, you still think that you are playing with kids. And here you have to toughen it up. And it was so funny because once I went to a national competition and I met people who are my age, but they're a lot tougher than I was. Physically, mentally, they didn't joke around. When I went back home, it's like my whole mindset completely changed. And that's sometimes the power of grouping and association. You can have a lot of knowledge. You can know that this is not good for me. This is completely not okay. But when you meet with people and you try to fit it in a group that does not have the knowledge that you have or does not have the abilities that you have, the problem at that very moment is that you start trying to do things the way they're doing things. And those can be very detrimental to you. So the third type of people that we imitate, what most of us imitate, is we imitate the powerful. We imitate the people we want to be like.
Yes, we covered this part when we talked about the art of influence really extensively, and over there, Chris Wildner and Jim Rohn, they put it clearly, and in the test they say write the 10 things that you want you want to see in a person that influences you, and why are we like that? Is because we imitate the powerful. You should see, actually, it's interesting. I saw somebody posting that there was a video by Michelle Obama and another lady. She posted that video just last week on Instagram. And there was a lady in the video who was just hanging out to Michelle that was wearing an Adidas dress. I saw somebody posting, where can I find that Adidas dress?
Wow.
So yeah, you can imagine, you can just directly imagine how much we imitate the powerful. When we see somebody, we want to be like them. When we can see somebody who can influence us, we want to imitate them. That's why some of the best-selling books, they're like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes.
I read the book actually, and I like the book, and we like those type of stuff because those people inspire us. We want to be like them. We want to copy them, and at the end of the day, we start imitating, and sometimes actually even blindly, we start imitating them and following what they're doing. Now, if we can be able to channel those type of imitation and start imitating the good rather than the bad, because I've seen actually, I spend a lot of time on social media, so I see all the different trends. You will see people, I try to be in the middle. I don't try to be very skewed to the right or to the left. I lean right, but I am not too far from the middle. And but you see people imitating Elon Musk.
Yeah.
A lot. Even in the bad, Elon Musk posts something that is just very crazy, and if I can say, it's just not clean, if I can say, for a better audience. I mean, he's the richest guy in the world, but it doesn't mean he's the most moral person in the world.
Yeah.
When it comes to morality, rather than imitating Elon Musk, I would rather imitate Bill Gates. Because of just the type of person he is. And of course, he also has his flaws and all of that. But when you are basing your entire life imitating somebody, it actually shows how much of influence that person is in you.
Yeah.
And for Christian, actually, this goes deeper because it's something that did not start today. Imitating the powerful did not start today. In the Bible, the Apostle Paul is asking that be ye my imitators as I am the imitator of Christ.
Yeah.
So imitating the powerful and knowing how to leverage that imitation in such a way that it can work in our favor, it can help us achieve or accomplish something positive about ourselves, is something that we should be pushing for, because it's going to happen anyways. There are a lot of people that you admire. There's a lot of people you want to be like. And even sometime without you knowing. Like I spent so many years, the last 4 or 5 years, looking into Elon Musk's no personal life, but business aspect. To a point where my business model, the way my company is structured, the Bora Technology, is just like Elon Musk's companies. We have Bora Technology, which is modeled out of Tesla, where we try to think innovation, think about technology, think in that aspect, like what can we innovate and so on. We are not as large as Tesla by even a fraction.
Right.
But it was modeled around the idea of Tesla. Then in the same type of thinking, I saw Neuralink. Then inside Bora, we have Bora Research, which is it's a branch of the company that takes care of scientific research, almost just like Neuralink was modeled. And then out of that, today Elon Musk has Twitter. Before that, actually, I had a little one step forward. We also got into media. We have the Bora Scientific Magazine, where we are changing the narrative. We are trying to write our own history. So it's kind of, I leverage the good part of Elon Musk's influence on me to use it in my advantage and to help others.
And I think that's very important what you're saying there, because even when it comes to imitation, you have to learn to pick the good and discard the bad. And you know, Elon Musk, to be honest, he's never been my model. He's really, you know, before I look at someone in many aspects, you know, I like looking at a person as far as their leadership is concerned. I'm more of a human type of person. I'm more of a Bill Gates type of person, you know, a person who, you know, take it slow with life. We innovate, but this is how we're going to do it and stuff like that. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned this, because a few weeks ago, when Elon Musk ordered everybody at Twitter to return to the office, he was kind of setting new rules and this and that. And maybe that's his way of working. I just don't think it's the best way of working. But hey, if that's his way and people are okay with it, I don't have to argue with them on that, you know. So he ordered everybody, and I remember having this discussion. I was like, man, the only dangerous thing about Elon Musk doing this is that everybody around the country, with most people that have him as model, we start thinking that this is the way to do it.
Yeah,
and we probably try to imitate or do the exact very same thing, but it's probably not going to work for them, you know. And if you go into that direction, I'll tell you a funny story. There's a company that I know. They're all working in the office. COVID happened. Everybody went remote. And they started doing this analysis of the data before COVID and after COVID. It was a software company. It's a software company. And I was reading their stats and all that. They said the company became 6 to 8 times more productive after COVID, with everybody working remotely, than they were before COVID, with everybody being in the office. They realized that a few things like fell off, you know, some users meetings. Nobody wants to be on a Zoom meeting for a few hours, you know, so some non-essential meeting became obsolete and all that. And I started thinking to myself, well, what if those companies just realized, oh man, Tesla is doing this, so, you know, Twitter's doing this, so all of us are going to do this. What would be the consequence, or how far or how bad will this go? So my point is, whatever you imitate, get the good. And if something is not good, don't just imitate for the sake of imitating. And I think, again, as Adam said, we deeply talked about it in the Art of Influence, the what you have to look for in the person that you want to be like. You know, if there are certain things that are fishy in the life of that person, hey, don't go for them. You know, I even said that about politicians. You know, there is something. There's a lot of good things in Donald Trump. There's a lot of bad things in him. There's a lot of good things in Barack Obama. There's a lot of bad things in him. The fact that you are going to sit there and completely ignore everything a person has done good simply because of the one bad thing you don't like in them, it's not going to help. Or the fact that you're going to embrace someone with everything that they do, whether they're good or bad, and defend it, is not going to help you. So find that right balance where you can imitate things that are good and things that are not good. You leave them away. And he also says a lot about the influence that others have on us. I like the story about Martin Luther King. I don't know if I should call him senior, but the Martin Luther King of England, when he rebelled against the Catholic Church back in the days, they were doing a lot of fishy things. He thought they were not in agreement with the Bible and all that. And then they were really seeking his life. They wanted to kill him and all that. So he went and hid himself. And someone came and told him, he said, Martin, everybody out there is against you. And then he looked at the person. The story says that he looked at the person and tell them that I am against everybody, So he got to a point where he took a strong stand for what he believed. Sometimes you have to take those strong stands for what you believe. And if you have to be a lonely road for a moment, it may have to be the lonely road for a moment until people start seeing what you are saying. Sometimes people don't say it, but sometimes you may also just be crazy. Maybe your idea is just crazy and maybe you need to step back and think again. Is what you believe true? Is what you believe sound? Is what you believe, but simply because you believe in something and you've believed in it for so long doesn't make it true. You can believe in something that's completely false or completely wrong. So sometimes it's important to double check yourself. But if you have a strong belief, if you believe that this and this should be and the way people should be treated, the way Martin Luther King Jr. believed, he believed that one day we should walk down the street where a white man and a white kid and a black kid are holding hands together. If you hold onto a strong belief like that, sometimes you have to stand for yourself for a very long period of time before people start joining you. All right, so we got 5 minutes here to the end of this episode here. We talk about chapter 10, how to find and fix the causes of your bad habits. Just clear starts here. I like some of the quotes that it says here. Say every behavior has a surface level, craving, and a deeper underlying motive. Meaning that for every behavior you exhibit today, there's actually an underlying motive that helps you to fulfill that behavior. Adam?
Yes, and just to run through, because we only have about 4 minutes left in this episode, you just say that there is a craving that underline every behavior that we have. So we do things to satisfy a certain behavior. And you say that, and you talked about the inversion of the second law of behavior change, which is make it unattractive. But before even going there, he started by talking about where do cravings come from. Because if you do understand where those cravings are coming from, then you can figure out a way to reverse engineer, if I can put in those words.
Or even to fix the craving by using a different technique, right? Instead of just using the habit that you've created.
Exactly. So for example, here he lists a few things. He say that some of our underlying motives, like the craving that we have, include conserve energy, obtain food and water, find love and reproduce, connect and bond with others, win social acceptance and approval, reduce uncertainty, achieve status and prestige. And he goes on to talk about a few ways that we try to fulfill
those needs,
those things. And he said, like, some way to find love and reproduce. Some people use dating app like Tinder. Connect and bond with others. People browse on Facebook. Win social acceptance and approval. You post a picture on Instagram, you get some likes, and so on. You get appreciated. That's one thing. To reduce uncertainty, we all search in Google. That's just, it's an automatic, it's an autopilot happens. To achieve status and prestige, we play video games. And so he goes on, and now he is trying to now start explaining that habits are all about association. And he goes on, he says these associations determine whether we predict a habit to be worth repeating or not. Now, for example, he gives a cue. One cue, okay, you notice that the stove is hot. What's going to be the prediction is if I touch, it will get burned. I'll get burned. So you'll avoid touching it. Another cue will be like, you see that the traffic light turned green. The prediction is if I step on the gas, I'll make it safe through. I mean, of course, if you're living in America,
Right.
In some other parts of the world, no, you just have to check out more cues and just that. And he say that, he goes on and he say that you can use that and reprogram your brain to start enjoying harder ways of doing things. Mark.
You know, it says here that one thing I found interesting, one quote I'll read straight from the book, it says, our behavior is heavily dependent on these predictions. Put another way, our behavior heavily depends on how we interpret the events that will happen to us, not necessarily the objective, the reality of the events themselves. Meaning that the anticipation of something will push you to behave a certain way. Like, you know, I love milkshake. I'm just going to confess it. I love milkshake from McDonald's. And sometimes I am not craving milkshake. Sometimes I have not thought about milkshake at all. But I will drive by a McDonald's and I'll see the M sign. Like instantly, the desire of having a milkshake will come in. So the desire is the difference between where you are now and where you want to be. That's what James Clear said. Now, talking again and sharing again my journey with pornography. Why is it important to understand the underlying motive behind your actions or behind your habits, right? At some point, I realized that I only craved pornography when I was stressed. I was always stressed around my exam time. And I was always stressed about the exam because I was never ready. It's like, you know, just understanding that trend actually was among the things that helped me overcome my struggle with it. Because I could anticipate some stresses. Like when I knew I had an important decision to make, or when I knew I just made like a very not smart purchase online and I used my credit card. And when I had to think about the payment and if that stuff would stress me, it could help me anticipate what was going to be my reaction. And I knew that every time I'll be stressed, I'll sit in my room and then I'll start thinking. Knowing that, having that piece of knowledge, I started finding new ways of solving my stress. Because you realize that every detrimental thing that you do for your brain, for your anything that's detrimental to your health, to your brain, to your life, whether it's eating, you know, some people just eat because they're stressed. As soon as they stress out, they start eating a lot. Or as soon as they're tired, they start eating a lot. As soon as they hit home, they see the couch and something happens, there's always a trigger. But my solving my stress was being done through, you know, pornography, and which led later on onto masturbation. But when I discovered what was causing, what was the underlying thing that I was trying to solve, I started adapting a new way of solving my stress. So every time I'll be stressed, instead of just sitting on my computer and trying to find a solution until I start, you know, watching pornography and all that, I'll go outside. I'll take a walk. I'll go outside, I'll take a run. I'll go, you know, of course, you have to make sure that you're safe wherever you live, you know. But it usually happen, you know, it's a little bit early in the night, like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. I even bought a bike for that. I started biking. I'll bike, and by the time I come back home, because I've put myself through exercises, I'm no longer stressed as I was by the time I left. The thoughts or the desires of engaging myself in that activity were not there anymore. And it goes the same way for alcohol. What is, you know, I'm not saying that drinking alcohol is bad, right? But abusing alcohol, everything that you do in excess, will definitely be detrimental to your health. So it's your own belief. If you drink, that's okay. If you don't drink, that's okay. It's your own belief. But if it's something that's being detrimental to your health right now, what is the underlying cause? What pushes you to get there? And that's why it's important to that's why it's important not only to journal, to learn how to journal. It's also important to have that time where you're doing an auto retrospection. What are the things that you are doing and you're not comfortable with, that you're just doing for the sake of doing? What are the underlying causes? What is the need that you're trying to fill? Every time that you know, I also like French fries. For those of you who like French fries, welcome to the club. You know, every time I'm craving French fries, what is the need beneath that I'm trying to feed? Am I just craving French fries because I'm actually hungry and I need to eat? food for survival. And it's crazy when you read this chapter. James Clear gives a lot of indication about what the people in the food industry have been doing. And we're already 4 minutes over our time here. It's even how our brain have been built and conceived to start with. We don't eat because we just want to eat. We eat for survival. That's how the human nature was created. Humans were created to eat for survival. But there are certain parts that are important for your survival. Sugar. Sugar was important to your survival when it was, scarce. It was hard to find sugar back then. When you talk about salt, salt was important for your survival. Grease was important for your survival. And people in the food industry have actually understood what your brain craves for. And that's why your French fries are a little bit salty, because your brain will keep on craving for them. Even when you are not hungry, your brain is thinking that I am eating this salt, I'm consuming this salt for my survival. And that's why it's important to understand the root cause of your behavior and what is causing you to do what you are doing. Once you understand the root cause, then you can start addressing it there.
Now, to wrap this up, how to break a bad habit. Just invert the laws that we have been teaching. Inversion of the first law, make it invisible. Reduce exposure, remove the cues of your bad habits from your environment. Inversion of the second law that we just talked about it. Instead of making it attractive, make it unattractive. Reframe your mindset, highlight the benefit of avoiding your bad habits. Those are a few ways for you to break the bad habits. And of course, you can start. We talked about many times on how to create good habits. We have talked about that extensively, and we're going to keep talking about it for the upcoming week.
Absolutely. And if you wonder how you can make French fries more attractive, join the group of people who are always against McDonald's. Trust me, they will feed you with so much information that you will hate French fries from this moment on. So you can be creative, find ways to make it unattractive. Next week, we will start talking about the third law. The third law is make it easy. How can you make your habits easy so that you can start adapting new habits going into 2023? We want you to start 2023 strong. If it's your first time here, please do not forget to hit subscribe and like the video. We have our giveaway coming up. There are already 2 things that will be there. That we're already packing out things together. You will have a book in there. You will have a 2023 agenda from James Clear on how to implement new habits in your life. So be on the lookout for that. We tell you the things that we put into consideration for you to be eligible to enter to this game. So we look forward to that. This week is Thanksgiving in the United States of America. We are definitely grateful for you and everything that you'll be doing, the support and the encouragement, the feedback that we've been receiving from you. We really appreciate it, and we continue to make this journey together. Also, coming up next month, I believe we have 2 guests that will be on the show. We cannot wait to have them. There's a lot of lessons that we'll be learning from them on business, on personal development, on taking risks, and even if you have a struggling business, how can you go and turn around that business in order for it to become productive going into 2023? So we're definitely excited to have you again, and we will be seeing you on next Tuesday. Give us a feedback. Let us know what you think and what we can improve. We are always on the lookout for feedback. Anything else, Adam?
That's all I had. Thank you so much.
All right. Y'all have a good one, and God bless you. Bye-bye.